sharing my screen. Once I start sharing my screen, I won't know. So if we're recording, please just let me know that the recording has started, so I can.
Yes, it has started.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, let me change this to presentation mode. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, okay.
Fantastic. All right, awesome. So this is a session on wireframing for BAs, and we're going to do a balsamic walkthrough as well. My name is 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐶𝐄𝐓. I'm a business analyst and a product owner for this internship program. It's called wireframing for BAs because BAs, like a lot of the competencies and skills we're teaching, they could be shared with other roles, maybe not roles here, maybe a UX, UI designer. If you go to a larger organization, there are others that can handle wireframing. So when we say the wireframing for BAs, it's usually I'll talk through it, but it's very low fidelity, sketch-like wireframing that we need for our user stories. There are other roles that can be brought in to create realistic life-sized wireframes. But for BAs, we usually keep it very low-key, just enough to give a visual representation of what our user story is about. So that's why it's titled for BAs. Well, other roles do wireframing as well. Designers, that's their bread and butter. But when we do it, it's very low fidelity most of the time. It's not a hard and fast rule. So for this tutorial, we're going to go through an introduction. I'll explain what wireframing is. I'll talk about the key concepts and the benefits. Then we'll go into the actual tool, which we use for this internship, which is called balsamic. Take note of the spelling. So when you are writing it, you don't misspell it, because it's not the spice, it's the tool. So make sure you spell it correctly. Then we'll do the Q&A and the take-home task. We have been instructed as tutors to always give a take-home task at the end of every tutorial. So I will give you one that is very aligned with your project, so that way you guys don't stress too much. And as a rule for wireframing, make sure that you are always open to iterations, updating it, changing it. So don't fall in love with your first draft. You can work on it really, really hard, but it's always meant to evolve once you talk it through, whether it's your product owner or your project team, and they ask you to make changes. Always be open to doing that. Okay, that's why it's there. That's actually the reason for the skill. Okay. So what is wireframing? It's the process of creating a visual representation of your website and the layout of your user story of the web. Is usually for a software product. So it's usually a design or a website layout, just so that you can focus on the perspective of the user. That's why a wireframe usually goes with your user story, because the wireframe is usually drawn or created from the user's perspective. So when you write your user story, you read your user story. Your user stories are usually very descriptive. It has all the information that your development team will need to create it. But rather than describe the positioning and the layout only using text, your wireframe is your supporting sketch. To say, okay, when I say the logo should be on the left hand side, this is what I mean. When I say the images should be in the middle, this is what I mean. So that's basically, it's just a visual representation of your user story. Okay. So again, people use wireframing because it's easy to show visually the architecture of what your user story is about. Yeah. And then you're able to talk it through. It's very, very collaborative. So once you create a wireframe, then you're able to talk it through with, again, whoever the stakeholder is, whether it's the product owner or your development team or whoever the stakeholder is, and you're able to show them, and they're able to quickly move things around and make changes. They're able to understand, because they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So you're able to create what it is, and then you're able to move the architecture around, and if there's any issue with usability, or from a user's perspective, user interface or user-friendly interactions on the website, it's very clear to see. Yeah. And then once you have something visual, the stakeholders can start talking. So rather than you just describing it verbally and then someone is misinterpreting what you're saying, when you have an image in front of you, it's very, very clear this is the image. So by the time that particular user story is developed, it has to fit the agreed wireframe that has been attached to it. Okay. So, and again, I said this session will introduce Balsamic. Although there are loads of wireframing tools, this is a top, one in the market. Is used for low fidelity wireframes, and it's low fidelity because you're not putting images, you're not putting text, you're not putting colors, you're not putting all those things. It's almost like it's hand drawn. Someone is drawing something with their hands and a pencil. It's just that it's on your system. Yeah. So it's very lo-fi. It's called lo-fi. Yeah. There are other tools where you can have an exact representation. For example, this screen that you're looking at now, someone can recreate it using a wireframe to say this is the color, this is that. But low fidelity is just a sketch. You just have something to represent the image, something to represent the positioning of the text. You're not even putting real text. You're using dummy text. Yeah. So it's just to show the positioning. That's basically what this is used for. I'll show you examples as well. Okay. So again, we're going to explore wireframing, and then we'll actually go to the tool, and then you can see how you can use it to plan, and then communicate the website or whatever software application you're creating, that design. You will see how easy it is to use and how beneficial it is for a project team. Okay, so this is an example of a wireframe. Yeah, it's literally, it looks hand drawn. It looks like someone used a pencil to draw it. And as you can see, where there's a logo, it is just an X to show there's an image there, and then you have logo there. So you're not actually bringing the actual logo to say this is the actual logo. No, you'll attach the logo, but you're just saying this is where this is placed. This is where an image should be. This is where the text should be. This is how everything should be arranged. Yeah. So that's basically, this is an example of a low fidelity wireframe. Okay. It's very important. It's really, really important when you're creating websites and applications. It's not just for websites. A lot of times we create mobile apps, we create loads and loads of software applications. So this is like a blueprint to show how the final product would look once it's been developed by the development team. And again, it helps all the stakeholders that are planning or designing the structure or the layout and the functionality. So you're saying, if I click on this button, this page will be displayed, and then you have a quick sketch of what that page will look like. These are the buttons that the person needs to click, and you have a sketch of how their positioning, how everything would look. That's basically what a wireframe is. Okay. And again, it's really important because you're able to show the system's functionality before development begins. Developers are very patient people, but when you keep changing, the developer does something and you're like, no, move it a bit to the middle, they'll do it again. No, move it a bit more to the middle. At a point, they'll just get tired and upset with you. No one wants to keep doing work, like that. So once you have a visual representation of how exactly where that particular element will be placed, it takes the guesswork out of it. And that person knows that by the time it is I'm done developing this thing, this is the placement of all the different buttons and features and pages. And then the QAs, who are your testers, will know that if the final product doesn't match the wireframe, then there's a bug, there's a problem, there's something missing. During your UAT, you can tell. It takes the guesswork away from everything. Okay. The next thing is, again, it bridges a gap between the business and the technical team. Business stakeholders only know what things should look like or what they want to achieve at the end of the day. Most of the time, they want you to show them what it looks like. But by the time it is you show them, most of the time they have comments and preferences and corrections to make. If a developer has finished developing a product, and that's when the business stakeholders are making those corrections, it's going to be very frustrating for the team. So all the BA has to do is create a wireframe, and using that wireframe, the business stakeholder will be able to move things around the way they want, put text where they want it to go, all of that. By the time it gets to the developer and the QAs, it's already done. All they need to do is, ask questions to get clarity, and they're fine with everything. Again, I just explained all of that. It reduces miscommunication. Oh, when I said left, I actually meant my left. Oh, do you mean your left? No, my left. When people are looking at things on the screen, it's different, my left and your left. So it takes the guesswork away. Someone will say, but you said, no, I did not say. No miscommunication. Once there's a visual representation, everybody's on the same page. Yeah. Again, if there is any problem with usability, you're able to see it from the wireframe. So if you're saying, okay, when the user clicks on this button, this particular page should be displayed. When the page is displayed, the developer can say there's a step missing, or there's something that will make that is not really user friendly. So that you're able to identify all those bugs, all those issues early, and it saves time and money, because all these people are getting paid. So you don't want them wasting time going back and forth on things that a wireframe would have sorted easily. And again, you get stakeholder approval. Remember, as BAs, the user story, the requirements are not yours. The user story is not yours. The wireframe is not yours. You're just the one documenting it. So when you're done receiving the wireframe, you create user stories. The user story includes the description of the user story, the acceptance criteria, and the wireframe, the visual representation of that user story. So all these things have to be part of your user story in order for your product owner to approve it. Yeah. The only reason user stories were approved before your wireframe was attached was because you haven't been taught. As from today, no user frame, I beg your pardon, no user story will be approved without an accompanying wireframe. I'm still yet to see. I'm sure, I don't know if you've shown your product owners your definition of ready and definition of done, but I'm pretty sure wireframes will be part of that. And using that checklist, they won't be able to approve any other user stories if it doesn't come with a wireframe. So basically, that's one of the key benefits or importance of having a wireframe, so that you get stakeholder approval. You know that they're not going to be going back and forth. They've seen it, they like it, they've approved it. It's on to development and testing. Okay, so the different components of, or the purpose basically of your wireframe, like I said, it helps you align the structure, layout, and functionality. No details. I've seen some wireframes that have colors and maybe it's privacy policy and they're importing the text. It's very unnecessary. wireframes have dummy text. So if you say about us has to have everything about the company, there's no need to get the actual text and put it in the wireframe. Just use dummy text. Lorem ipsum. Just use it, blah, 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 scroll, scroll, scroll. Once you see that, you know that a text is supposed to be there, but you're not going to get the actual text. You're not going to get the actual logo. You're not going to get the actual image or colors. It's black and white. Again, low fidelity, okay? Again, it communicates the ideas clearly for stakeholders and the development team. You'll use it for validation. Yeah, you make sure that your stakeholders use it to validate the requirements, and if there are any issues, they're able to spot it and identify it and correct it early. And again, it's a foundation for your design and prototyping if you decide to do prototypes. But for the design of the software and product that you're designing, whether it's a website, a mobile app, whatever it is, that's the foundation of what it is. Okay. So the components are, it's a layout. So again, you have the layout of the application, all the different elements. It contains all of that. The positioning, the navigation, the content, the functionality, all those different things. If it has a way the users will move and how the system will respond, the wireframe will contain that. If it has text, I've already talked about dummy text, placeholder text, images, and other media. You use sketches to represent all of that. If it has buttons and forms, maybe a sign-up form, I click on the sign-up button and the sign-up form is displayed. You have to show all those different things. So everything from the perspective of the user, what happens when a particular button or a particular page is clicked or something, what's that functionality? You have to use a wireframe to show, to have a visual representation of that particular feature or functionality. Okay, so again, the process is each element on a wireframe should be directly mapped to a user need or a business requirement. Yeah, don't put unnecessary information on your wireframe. If your wireframe has to do with your header, that's what your wireframe should contain. If it has to do with your footer, that's what your wireframe should contain. There's no need populating your wireframe with unnecessary information. Your wireframe is a support to your user story. If your wireframe contains anything that is not part of your user story, then it contains too much. So and there should be nothing on your wireframe that is not in your description or your acceptance criteria written out in a textual form. So they go hand in hand. You have your description or your user acceptance criteria. Everything is written out. Yeah. You when you go for your sprint planning, you don't talk through your stories. You read your story. If you have any information that the project team should know, it must be in your user story. If it's not in your user story, then don't include it. So when you open your user story in front of your project team, you read it out. Yeah, because that's all they're going to use. You're not going to be there when they're doing their testing. You're not going to be there when they're doing their development. So there's no need adding extra information that is not in your user story. So everything that is important for them to use for their work has to be in your user story, and you read your user story. That's why we always read our user stories. If you realize that there's some information that they need that is not there, you write it down. Same way, your wireframe has to be a visual representation of everything you've written down. If there's information in your wireframe that is not in your user story, then there's dissonance. It's not right. So don't add any additional information in your wireframe that is not in your user story. And if there's anything in your user story that's not in your wireframe, then your wireframe is not complete. It has to be matchy. One is, it's just like having a photograph of something. If someone takes a photograph of you, it's you. If you're wearing a hat, the hat will be in the picture. If you're wearing a pair of shoes, the shoes will be there. So your wireframe has to match your user story. Yeah. So, and your user story has to match your requirement. So that's what is called traceability. You must be able to trace the wireframe to the user story to the requirement. If you can't trace it, then there's a problem. Okay. So I've just said all of that, all of that here. To create a good user wireframe, you need to understand what the requirements are. You need to understand what the scope and objective of that wireframe is. That's the scope, the start and the ending. If it's in scope, it's there. If it's out of scope, it's not there. It's sketching. That's what low fidelity means. It's like you're sketching. There isn't color, text, any of those things. If there's text, is words. So if, for example, you have an image there, the image, you're saying this particular image is actually the logo. You can write logo there without saying is the logo of Mentors Kid website or logo of Amazon website. No, just logo. Whatever the logo is, that's where the logo should be. Image, there should be an image there. You supply the image, you supply the content later, but it shouldn't be part of your wireframe. Okay, it's there for you to review and iterate. Same thing, I've said it before. Okay, I said high fidelity wireframes are optional because when you go to a lot of work environments, they would have additional roles. Like I said, UX, UI designers, those ones, most of the time, they work in high fidelity. So if you give them a low fidelity wireframe, they'll convert it to high fidelity or they'll create a high fidelity one. So, but for our purposes of this internship, we don't use high fidelity. This is just knowledge for knowledge purposes, but we use low fidelity for what we do. Okay, so there are loads and loads and loads of tools in the market for wireframing. Okay, so this is a list of all of them. I've talked about Balsamiq. That's the one we're going to explore in depth today. Really, really easy to use. If you've never used it before, no problem. You can use your normal keyboard functionality, drag and drop, all of that. Figma is one of the ones that is actually very popular as well, that is used for high fidelity as well. Miro, Mural, Adobe, Sketch, InVision, all these are different tools. A lot of the times, when we give you tutorials, we give you a broad overview. Please go and do your own research. There's no guarantee that when you work in an organization, they will be using Balsamiq. But if you know how to use one, chances are you know how to use the other. So once you know how to use Balsamiq and use it really well, if you pick up Figma, it's usually the same functionality, it's just more detailed. Yeah. So once you know one, you can, and they tell you, oh no, in this organization we use Miro. You know how to use Balsamiq, so most of the time it's a skill that's transferable. Okay. So best practices. Okay, this is best practices in general. When we go on to using Balsamiq, I'm going to talk about best practices in your project team because there are a number of you in one project team. So that one has its own set of best practice. Before we even go here, does anyone have any question regarding anything I've said previously, or are you guys good?
I pasted a question in the chat. I was asking if we could use Figma wireframe for the project.
You can use the one, whichever one you want. What we normally do is we give you, if we say you should create wireframes, we'll give you access to the tools. We don't want you to struggle, but there are loads of free tools in the market. And if for one reason or the other, you don't have access to the one we provide, you can use that one. However, in doing that, you have to keep to the same rules of the kind of wireframes we're doing. So for example, if you say, I don't want to use Balsamiq, I'd rather use Figma or Miro, they offer mid and high fidelity options. So that doesn't mean you're going to bring color and you're going to bring things that we don't use for best practices in our own. If you're going to create a wireframe with using another tool, you still have to stay true to the format of the wireframe we're asking you to produce. I'm pretty sure if you go to your product owners with wireframes that don't match, they'll correct it. It's collaborative anyway. I'm sure they'll correct it. But yes, the short answer to that is yes, you can use any other tool. All these tools that we're mentioning, they all have different versions in the market, free and paid versions. Visio has other versions. I talked about Lucidchart. There are many of them in the market. So if you want to use any other tool, feel free. Feel free. In fact, it's even encouraged for you to learn how to use multiple tools for the same thing. So if it's process mapping, you can know how to use multiple tools and so on and so forth. In my organization, I like using Visio because that's what I like it. It's easier for me, but a lot of other BAs use Miro. They like Miro. It's very collaborative as well. You know, Visio is, if you have the license, you can use it. Miro, firstly, even the paid version is not as expensive as Miro, and a whole team can have access to it. That's even why I don't like it, because sometimes after you finish designing, someone will not come and be moving things around. If you want, it's my process map. So if you want me to make any corrections, we'll have a discussion and we'll make the corrections. But you don't want a whole project team. You just come and someone has moved your things around. That's just my personal preference. Sorry, I went on a rant, but it's just a bit of a pet peeve for me. So yeah, the short answer is yes, you can. Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's keep going. If you have any, we'll stop again and you have the opportunity to ask again. All right, cool. So again, in wireframing, you always have to create it from the user's perspective. So you also have to focus on your user needs, okay? So make sure that the layout you create and whatever feature you include in your wireframe addresses or meets that core requirement, okay? Please keep it simple, yeah? Don't clutter your wireframe with too many details, yeah? Remember, it's low fidelity, so you're sketching, yeah? And a lot of times when you put in so much work and someone tells you, no, move this thing around, or this thing is wrong, or change it, maybe even the order, you can even go like, why are you stressing me? Do you know how much work I put into this? That's why I started by saying, don't fall in love with your first draft or even your second or third draft. Don't fall in love with any of your drafts. Just do the work and know that someone can come and make a correction. So please, but keep it simple, okay? Making sure it's easy to see, understand, and navigate. Okay. Again, I've talked about iterations. You always show it to your stakeholders and the users, and they're able to refine it and improve on it and give you feedback. And then you go back and you make the correction, add it back again, and then it's approved and it can be used for the project. Maintain consistency. You're working on one website, yeah? I'm going to touch on this a lot later. But if you're all writing, let's say you're all writing header stories, yeah, there are 4 BAs, there are 8 header buttons, and all of you are writing 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. It's the same header, it's just that you guys are writing 2 stories, yeah? So one BA's header is different from the other BA, different from the other BA, it won't work. Which one will the developer take? Again, I keep emphasizing the fact that on most projects, there's usually one BA. So consistency is not as much of a problem there as here. But again, you could find people that could move stuff around and all of that. But yeah, just make sure it's consistent. So even after you finish developing your header and you now want to develop the body of the website or application, that header is still fixed. You're not moving things around. So you have to be consistent all through. Once you've gotten approval for the header or the footer, it remains just like a normal website. It doesn't change from page to page. It remains consistent. So your wireframes also have to be consistent as well. And again, testing, iteration, does it meet the user needs? Is it usable? Are there any issues that need to be sorted out? What are the areas of improvement? You go back again, make the correction, come back again, back and forth and back and forth. That's basically how it works. All right. So for your wireframes to be effective, yeah, again, each element should be mapped out to a user need or a business requirement. Again, I'm reiterating that because it's very, very important. Okay. I think we've done this actually. I actually put this here for the image, and basically your wireframe needs to be clear, focused, hierarchical. So as you're building the website, your wireframe is being built. Yeah. You start on the home page, you have a wireframe for that. You move over to the other pages, maybe your user signs up. How does your user sign up pages, login pages consistently? So your wireframe is getting more and more detail as the application or the website or the mobile app is getting built up. So it's the wireframe follows the development. Remember, in priority, there's priority 1, priority 2, priority 3, same thing. Yeah, your wireframe goes where your user story goes, basically. All right. So before we go into Balsamic, any questions again? We all good on wireframes? We know how it works? All right. Now let's go into Balsamic itself, the actual tool. Okay. So Balsamic is, when it comes to low fidelity, it's a very good tool, very widely known and used. Very simple. It looks hand drawn. Yeah, it looks like someone drew it with a pencil. And it basically focuses on the user experience. So it's not into how visually appealing it is. If there's color, if there's this, if there's that, it's just basically we want to highlight the user experience and make sure we have that right. Okay, it's very easy to use, user friendly. If you've never used it before, whether you're a new designer or you're experienced, it's very easy to use. Drag and drop, keyboard shortcuts, all of that. Okay, it's very quick. So you can create wireframes. Once you get used to it, obviously if you haven't started using it, you're still clicking through to find out what each thing does. Yeah, but once you are used to it, you're literally, someone tells you, oh, you need to change that. While the person is still talking, you've gone to make the change and you've come back already. It's very, very easy. Yeah. So and then again, I've talked about this. The emphasis is always on the user. And all of that. So ideation, just all different ideas. You can think you want something in a particular way, and then by the time you see it visually presented, they're like, this might not really be a good idea. Why don't we move it over here? So it's actually a collaborative tool. It's very easy for people to get ideas. So you can even have someone who says, I actually thought it would be better this way, but now seeing the wireframe, I think it'll be better. So the fact that someone is correcting your wireframe doesn't mean that you made a mistake. It just means that, they have a better idea of what it would look like now. So having seen it, I think it will be better this way. So don't feel bad if anyone corrects your wireframe. That's the purpose of the wireframe. Okay. And key features of Balsamic. It comes with a UI library. When we go into it, you see very, very vast library. You're able to import icons and features, but trust me, the library is so wide that you won't really need it, especially for this project. There are a lot of presets, pre-designed elements that you can use for even the most detailed wireframes. And it's really, they keep improving it all the time. Yeah, every time I have to take this class every 3 months, I go back into Balsamic and I see that they've made an additional change and an additional change. They keep updating it. It's a really, really good tool. So the more you use it, it's almost intuitive, especially if you use things online. It's usually the same principles you can use. You're able to make comments, take notes. It's very collaborative. Again, like I say, they have a whole section for making it easy for people to communicate their ideas or improvements, notes, whatever it is, feedback. Yeah, it's really good that way. And I've talked about how collaborative it is. So members of multiple teams, they're not a lot of you, but a lot of times you have teams of 20, 30 people who have access to the same project folder, and they're able to collaborate, track changes. You're able to track changes and see who has done what, revisions. All of that is really, really good. Okay, so it really simplifies the wireframing process, and it enables us to create effective user-friendly designs very quickly and efficiently. Yeah, remember I showed you what a good design looks like. I don't think we even went to what a bad one looks like. My apologies, I think I skipped that. Okay, so an ineffective wireframe is too detailed. It's inconsistent. It doesn't have any context. When you put something on there, you should be able to connect it to a requirement or a user story. If it doesn't have any context, then there's no need for it to be there. Okay, it shouldn't be fixed. You should be able to move things around very easily. Yeah, and then again, you must always use you always create it from the user's perspective, not from the developer's perspective or the business, the user, whoever the end user is going to be of that particular application. That wireframe has to be, has to be from their perspective. Okay, so that's an ineffective one. So it's good to know what an effective wireframe looks like and what an ineffective wireframe looks like. Okay, so some of the key terms and definitions you see, we're going to go there, but this is just, again, there's no way this class, even if you're 3 hours or 4 hours, can go through all the different features of Balsamiq. The more you use it, the more you discover, and there are loads and loads of videos online, tutorials, and their website. I'll show you their website. Their website has loads of tutorials. So a lot of times, if you're stuck, how do I do this particular thing? You can always search online for it. Look it up on their own website. Ask Google, and again, loads of tutorials. Even BlueSky. Like I said, this class is repeated. So in your library of tutorials, you can even go to other tutors who've done it, and they've probably touched on other things as well, and you can get a lot of context from all of that. So this is by no means the be all and end all of a Balsamiq class. It's just a walkthrough, literal whistle stop tour. Just point and shoot. That's all it is. But the actual practice is up to you. Okay, so there are terms you're going to be familiar with. There's a canvas, which is the website where you work. That's your canvas. The controls are all these different buttons you use. The property inspector, every control is called a control. All the buttons I'll show you, they're called controls. Each one has a property inspector, so you can move things around on that particular control or element. Okay. Assets, symbols, groupings, you navigate, you can list the alignment tools you can use. There's so much. You can export it. I've talked about the UI library where a lot of all the controls are. There's a grid that comes with it, so you can align. BAs, we pay attention to detail. So the fact that we're creating a low-fi wireframe doesn't mean it's not well aligned. It has to be well aligned. You have to make sure it looks okay. So your different elements or controls cannot be misaligned. So because a lot of times it's difficult for you to just see and know if a line is straight, there's a grid that is inbuilt onto the system that helps you align your different controls to make sure that everything aligns very, very well. Different layers, it's easy to redo, undo. You have notes, different panels, you can zoom in, zoom out, and obviously it's on the cloud, so people can collaborate from wherever it is they are in the world, as long as they have access to the internet and obviously the project board. So for the walkthrough, we're going to set up, I'm going to do a bit of an introduction for you. Setting up a new project, I've pretty much done that. Yeah, I'll just show you what it is. Everyone's project, there are 2 teams, so you have different folders that you're using, and that's your team folder. Okay, I'll show you how it's done, but it's already been done, so there's no need to set up another project. I don't think you have the permissions or change the name or anything like that. I don't know if you will have the permissions, but even if you do, please don't change any of that. Okay. Again, different ways to add components, add controls, I've talked about the UI library ad nauseum. You can see how we can drag and drop. I've talked about the canvas. I'll show you all of that. Arranging and aligning all the different elements, how they're positioned, all of that. Different styles, formatting, color. You may not want to use color, but they have it if you ever need to. Probably won't need to in this project, but if you need to in future, yeah, you can add all the different colors and things. And it's actually interactive as well. If we get to that, we get to that. If not, I mean, again, like I said, there are loads of, there's so much information about Balsamiq online, loads of tutorials that you can go through to help you. But it's so cool because we don't really use that functionality here where you present a website from Balsamiq. You can create all the different wireframes, you can connect them. So even on Balsamiq, when you click on the home page will open. The wireframe for the home page will open. We don't use that for our project. So chances are you probably won't use it. But if you're ever in any other work environment or in a project and they want you to present your wireframes on Balsamiq, you can do that. You can literally show them when you click. When you click on something, there are links. You can link and then it just moves from one page of that wireframe to another page. Is really, really good, basically. Yeah, so this is the website, balsamiq.com. There are supports, docs, getting started, cloud, all of that. If you go there, it's their home tool. So everything you could possibly want is on there. Yeah. So I'm stopping again for questions and answers before we go into that Balsamiq proper. Any questions and answers? Any questions? I beg your pardon. Any questions? I'll handle the answers. Comments? Anything?
Nothing.
Cool. Thank you very much for letting me know. I'm hoping that means that you guys are good. Okay, so let's finish this before. If you need this again, it will most likely be in the video, but I've already said this anyway. So your take-home task, I wanted to make sure your take-home task is aligned with your project. Yeah. So I hear you guys have a PO for Fusion, Uzo. And I'm hearing some, things. It's fine. If Uzo is giving you a hard time as your PO, it's fine. When you're going for interviews and they ask you, have you ever dealt with a difficult stakeholder? You say, yes, I had a product owner called Uzo and she was awful. So it's fine. No problem. Not everyone has to be, you can use it as part of your interview and you talk about how you were able to deliver despite your difficult stakeholder. So it's fine. So from now on, your take-home task is to go to all those user stories. I know they've been committed to Sprint, but if you remember, for most of them, you promised your project team that you were going to add wireframes to all of them. So now, once we're done with this, you need to go and start adding wireframes to all of them. I don't know if they asked you for a deadline. I'm hoping they did, but you need to add wireframes to all those user stories. But remember, you need to get approval first. So I would advise you to go back to your respective POs and set up refinements for the wireframes you're going to create, because they have to see it and they have to approve it before you save it and add it to your sprint. Yeah. So once we're done with this, your task is that you need to create wireframes for all the user stories you've created for sprint 1. And again, it's even there. You need to refine it and approve it with your respective POs. Okay. So once we're done, you guys should decide, do you need a day? Do you need 2 days to create all your wireframes? However not much you need to set up a refinement session so that those wireframes can be approved before they can be added to your stories and be part of the committed stories. Now, after this, work through, after the approval with your PO, you also need to, probably during your stand-up, or if you want to have a separate session, that's fine, but you need to walk through the wireframes with your project team as well to make sure they understand. All this was supposed to have been done together. So it's fine. Where your POs and your project team will excuse you. No need to stress yourself. Okay. So after approval with your PO, you also need to show your project team the wireframes to make sure that they understand. If they have any questions, they'll ask you for clarity and you can provide it. Now, from now on, every user story you create should have a wireframe. By the time you come for refinement, your user story should include the wireframe. Okay, so that's your take-home task for this class. Again, I wanted to give you have more than enough work to do, so I didn't want to give you any additional work. So this is your task for this tutorial. Okay. All right, so we're now going to the actual tool. Let me stop sharing and start sharing the actual balsamic tool. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Okay. So this is Team Fusion's project team. Yeah. So I'm logged in as me, 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐂𝐓. And this is what the interface looks like, basically. Okay. I'll just talk you through everything. At the top is your normal. All right. So, yep.
Can you show me the members of Team Fusion, because Mr. Oni mentioned.
You can find who sorry, who is speaking?
Sorry, it's Augusta. Mr. Oni said something about not getting the email. So can he use his previous access?
Yes, he's just been added to the project. He didn't get any email. He's just been added. He's there.
Oh, okay. Oh.
This is BlueSky's project. There are loads of projects here. So once you're signed in, you can be added or your project can be moved up and down. You only ever get one invite email. That's all you ever get. So he is part of the team already. For I think it's future one of them. So again, yeah. So this is all the project information, all of that project history, blah blah blah. If you want to leave the project, it's there. Delete the project. Thankfully, we don't have access to that. That's an admin level functionality. So for wireframes, there are different ways to create wireframes. You can create your wireframe, rename it, duplicate it, copy, cut, all of that is under wireframes. This is your edit button. So these are all the different features you can perform here. Nothing has been selected, so a lot of it is grayed out. Once I start working on it, then redo, undo, cut, all of that, I'll be able to do that. Transform, I'll be able to do that. Then view, you can see all your different panels. Remember when we talked about the different words, you can see the navigator panel. If I don't want to see it, that's this panel here. I can unclick it. I like it, so I'll put it back. If I want to see the toolbar, I don't want to see the toolbar, I can, what do they call it? I can uncheck it. I like the toolbar. If I don't want to see the UI library, which is this bit at the top, we'll talk about that. I can unclick it and it disappears. So basically you can play around with your canvas. Remember, I talked about canvas. This is the canvas. It's like a blank canvas. So you can draw on it. You can do whatever it is you want on it. So again, these are your wireframes. You can look at them here. Let me create multiple wireframes. So you see how they are stacked up. If I want to actually see the wireframes, I can do this. And then if I'm on, the wireframe you're on, the canvas you're on is highlighted. So when you add a particular control, you see it there as well. And then obviously, like I mentioned, there are bits that are grayed out because I've highlighted this particular button or this particular control. It's called the control. I can now see all the properties of that particular control. And there are different ways to add controls to your canvas. So remember, I dragged and drop. You see, so intuitive that it's even telling you what to do. You hover over it and it's telling you that if you want to add, you can drag and drop, or you can double click and it will appear. Yeah. And then you can see now, because I've done something, the undo button has come. I can paste, I can do all of that. Alternatively, if I right click on the particular control, all this comes up and I can do that here. I can delete it. I can duplicate it. I can transform it to something else. If you click on transform, it can be another control. These are all the different controls you can transform it to, all of that. So all of that is there. Then yeah, if I want to stack them up, like I said, that's already there. If you want to add a new wireframe, like I said, you can add it from the top here, or you can add a plus. Once you hover over it, you see that it's a new button. You can click on it. If I want to move from one wireframe to the other, I can either go up or go down to whatever wireframe it is I want. This is a blank screen, so you may not really understand the need for this. So let me very, very quickly go to one of my other projects that has loads and loads and loads of wireframes. So that way it'll be easier to show when you developed so many wireframes, then you can see how they all work. So these are so many different wireframes. As you can see, there are loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of wireframes. So at some point, you know, you may just have to, it may be easier to collapse everything and just see the name rather than doing this, because here you can only see 3 and then you might need to toggle. That's whatever. You can move a wireframe from where it is to somewhere else and just move it to another positioning on here as well. As you can see, this shows you what is on the wireframe. So if you're searching for a wireframe and you're not sure what it looks like, you can just keep scrolling until you find, oh, this might be it. Let me click on here and see what it looks like and all of that. So yeah, a lot of these navigational tools, remember this is called the navigational bar, is very, very important when you have loads and loads of wireframes to look through and you're not sure what it looks like. You can also search as well. Anyway, let me go back to, I think we were on Fusion. Let me go back there. I just wanted to show you that functionality, you know, where it kind of, you know, it's in action basically, and why that is important. All right, now, so these are all controls, right? They're all UI controls. This is the UI library with all the different controls. So you can see all the different preloaded what do they call it, controls here for loads and loads of different things. Sorry, there are templates as well. You can scroll here and, you know, on the toolbar and just look through all the different templates. These are templates that you might need for different websites, but for our purposes, we won't really be using all of this. These are really detailed. If you use one of this, you spend time redoing it. It's so much easier to create something from scratch than to use templates. But for people that need it for very detailed work that they're doing, these templates are lifesavers for them. Yeah. But a lot of times we kind of stay on our common tools. These are some of the common tools we use. I'll go through some of them and just to explain what some of them look like, although again, they're all named. So a lot of times, if you know what feature on the website that you're looking for is, you can actually get the name and use it basically. So if you want text, if you want titles, subtitles, shapes, search bar, all of that is all here. This are the different categories on here. So all the different controls in alphabetical order, all the different browsers, buttons, calendars, call out, every arrows, whatever control you need, it's here. There are controls for Android designs. You want very big designs. For example, there's a big title here, so you can see all of that. There is containers. Okay, so if you're, remember I talked about designing a mobile app, so you want to see it being featured on a mobile phone. How will it look like on a mobile phone? You want to talk about the mobile responsiveness of your application. You already have the container of a mobile phone here. If you want the container of a website, a browser, sorry, let me undo this or delete it actually. You want a web page, you can have the container of a web page and just rather than design it from scratch, this has already given you the container of a web page and you can edit it. I'll go into all of that. So when you can just click through, like I said, click through, see what is here. We looked at Android, this is iOS, there are different layouts, there are different markups. Media is just a lot. Text, if you're looking to add text, it's grouped all the text here. If you want, remember I told you that we use dummy text, we don't use actual text. So if you want to represent squiggly lines for text, you can put it there. Maybe the lines are too small, you can too much, you can reduce it, or you want more, you can increase it just by dragging and dropping. That's all I'm doing. I told you about grid lines. So as you can see now, it's so intuitive that because I'm on the browser, it's already giving me grid lines, so I can align my text to where I want it to go. Yeah. So I won't say I don't know how it's supposed to go. If I wanted to align that particular way, it's aligned onto the grid. Once you drag and drop, the grid appears. Once you let it go, the grid lines go away. So it's very, very user friendly. So these are all the different symbols for whatever it is you want. You want to add a search bar onto your project. You can add something there. It's too big. Okay, so I know I'm going really quickly, but again, the more you play with it, the more you can see how it works. So you can look at this video and, in case you want to learn some of these very basic movements. Okay, so I won't be too we're going to design a web page, but I just want to go through the functionality with you, kind of like, all of that. So again, this is the navigational bar. I've looked through that. Now for this part, it's called the property. Let me look at what it is. View inspector, property inspector. That's what it's called. Yeah. So basically, it's normally folded like this. This is where your team can add notes. If, for example, we want Eniola to make a change to her wireframe, the PO asked her to make a particular change. Maybe Augusta can come and write, okay, so the PO asked that you change this to all of that. You can put notes there, or if there's anything either of you want to add there, that's your notes bar. There's also a bar for comments as well. You click on it, you can add comments. So it's very, very collaborative. That's what these are. If you want to zoom out, you can. Let me unclick this. If you want to zoom out, you can. If you want to zoom closer to have a good idea of what you're doing, you can do that. If you want to zoom to fit, page to fit, it does that as well. Your full screen, if I want to see the full screen, I won't do that, but yeah, if you want to, you can do that. If you have any questions for Balsamiq, you can ask them, maybe to find a particular way of doing something. I like Googling, or I go to their website as well. Now, this toolbar is new. Like I said, every time you go there, you see something new. So as you can see, this is highlighted. So that's the feature on here, and I can use it. It's my control tool. I can use it to basically move. Once I click on it, I can move any control around. Yeah. This is your text tool. If you want to add text, you basically add. I'll go on to that again. Once it does that, there's a particular control that has that functionality. All this is editable. That's why once you put it on there, it opens it up for you. In the event that what you want to do is not what is on here, you want to edit it. If you want to edit it, you do that. If you don't, you click out of it and it stays there. as you can see, the text is bold, it's colored, it's underlined, there's a link, there's a web link here. I'll go through all of that for you, and it's clickable. Actually, this feature is if you want to draw a shape, so you click on it and then you can draw your shape. There are controls on here as well that do that, but these are like quick controls. Yeah. You want an image, you can click on it and you get your image box. This is an image box. Same thing with your comment. So these are quick tools that they just added. I don't know why they added it, but it's fine. They got feedback that it, you know, people needed. All these things you can get it from a lot of other places. That's the one thing I really like about Balsamiq. There's no one way of doing something. So these are just probably quick quick tools, the tools that people use most of the time, so they just want to make it available to people, so they don't have to search as much. I don't know why, but it's fine. So then the other thing I wanted to highlight apart from this is here. This is another thing they've changed. It used to be quick add, but now they've changed it to type or to search. So if you want to search, it's still there, quick add controls. So if, for example, you're not sure, you want to add a web link, but you're not sure of where to find it, you can just type web here and everything that has web will come out. You can see all the different versions of web, whatever it is they have, including the ones that have web, that don't have web. Let me see web link, if it'll come up. No? Oh, okay. Let me see text. So all the different versions of text they have. And then you're now going into toolbar. So even doesn't have text, but it's a toolbar. When you find what it is you want, you click on it and it will drop on your canvas. If you don't want it, highlight it and delete it or undo, and you have all of that there. Now, once you click on a particular control, so remember I dropped all of this behind. I know it's hidden behind all of this, but once you click on it, then you can see the properties of that particular, what do they call it? Particular control. I want to use the words they use. Yeah. So once you click, if you don't click on it, if you click on it, then you can see the properties of the different control buttons you've clicked on. So this is the properties of this particular control. If I click on here, now these are the properties of the browser window. If I click on here, these are the properties of the squiggly block. So it's once it's highlighted, it shows you what the different properties are. So let's go back to here again. If I want to increase the size, you already see the sizing tools. It's very user friendly. This is things we do all the time. So I don't know that they've done anything that's out of the ordinary. There are loads of shortcuts here. But once you see this, you already know that if I pull on it, it will stretch. Or if I want it smaller, it will reduce and everything. And as you can see as I'm doing it, the size and the positioning is changing. Yeah, so as you change this changes. So I can change it this way, or maybe I know exactly what it should look like. I can type that number here and type that number here, and I click on enter and it has already made the change here. Or I can auto size it and it will size it according to the text that is there. So for example, and if I double click on it, I can add text. So let's say the button I want is not a button, maybe it's a submit. Let's say log in. So that's my login button. So it becomes my login button and I can, change all of that. If I want to change the color, I can do that. You click on the color scheme. This is lo-fi, so we don't really use color, but if you ever want it, it's there for something later. It's all there. If you know the color, you put the color there. If there's anything here, all of that is so intuitive. Yeah. What else do I want to? Okay, so I want to share some of the properties of some of these. What do they call it? Of some of these controls. I really want to use the right words. So Okay. Who is playing with it? I'm literally on here and someone is playing with it. Why are you doing that? That's not really good etiquette.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know it will reflect. Sorry about that.
Of course, you're on here. So another thing, you can see all your team members. So I already know Eniola is here. I know Augusta is here. I know Nosa is here. And this is me. So I can see all my team members. Yeah. So this is a good opportunity. Remember, we talked about best practice in general wireframes. Now let's talk about best practice. I was going to save this to the end, but in fact, let me save it to the end. It's fine. Let me just continue what I'm doing. Okay, so I'll leave this on here. It's a collaborative tool. If someone is on here working on something and someone does something else, it will show immediately, automatically. Yeah. So we're going to go into best practice for our projects because you saw what just happened now. Imagine if it happens at work. Yeah, we're just playing. So no problem, no harm done, it's fine. If you finish doing a project and someone changes it, both of we could, it could be a problem. Let me just put it that way. Okay, it could be a problem. So let me go to I'll stop sharing really quickly. I just want to go to some other what do they call it? I just want to show you some features of other sites. Let me just share again. Just so I don't want to have to recreate it again. So I want to go to, there was actually no need for me to move, but I'm so sorry. There was absolutely no need for me to move. I moved somewhere I wasn't supposed to, but it's fine. Let me just do this real quick. My apologies for the break in transmission. Okay, share my screen again. All right, so let me go to another project. I forgot that I am on other projects, even though I told you that. So let me go to my gift treat project because I created some samples there that I just want to play around with you rather than look for them. Honestly, it was just long. So let me just go to, I have some content that I created. So I was like, okay, let me just show you how some of these things work. Okay, so these are two slides I created with different controls, right? So this is the control for the browser, like I said. So if you are creating a web application, this already gives you the container. You can double click on this and add the website. So let's say my website is Amazon, amazing. I mean, not still Amazon, amazing interns.com. So I can tap out of it and that's my website. Yeah. So you can basically change the website. I don't want it to read a web page. I want it to read home page. So let's say you're creating a home page, you can do that. Or maybe it's an about us page or a contact us page. Oops, sorry. So you can see how you can edit the text to reflect the wireframe that you're creating. Okay. This is the wireframe that we typically use for images. Okay. So I think, let me look for image here. So it could be an image that is a logo. Once you have it on here, you can, because yes, it does it again. I don't like when it does that. So if you want to, let me go out of this, sorry. Yeah, now it's hung up. So just 1 minute while it's getting away from that. It does that all the time. So you can edit the text here as well. That's what I was trying to do when it did that. So please stop. Yes, close the program. Thank you very much. Apologies for that. Oops. Am I still sharing? Nope, I am not. Let me share again. Okay. Just 1 minute. Yeah, so that is, let me share back again, my apologies. Okay, that's the thing with live demos. It doesn't really go the way you want. Okay, so you can basically add text. There are some controls that come in a particular way, but you can add text to it. Yeah. So this, for example, is a control that is an image. Logo is an image. So we use this for logos. We can also use it for images, maybe pictures as part of a website. So you can expand on it, make it as big or as little as you want, add it to your web page. This is our logo. So the logo is on the left side. I can reduce the size or even increase the size of my browser so it's bigger. And then I can have maybe the logo as a central image on here. Okay. So you can play with it as like that if you want. Okay. There are some controls that don't have any allowance for text. This one is just a bar chart. It doesn't allow you add any text, and that's fine. This is a checkbox. You know when they say tick to show that you're human. So this is a checkbox. They're all here. So in fact, look at it here. It's just that I've already put it down here. So you can edit it as well. Maybe click to submit or something. You can change the text on here, but it's a click box. So if you ever have to add you ever need to add a checkbox, that's where your checkbox is. This is like a post-it note. You double click on it, you can change the text there. There's some that are horizontal content and vertical content. So this, for example, is vertical content. And again, you double click on it. But if you notice, it's all separated using a comma. So if I want to add more, I'll just add a comma and just keep adding. Or maybe I want to change this to home and then change this to contact us. Change whatever it is you want. You just keep adding it. Okay, I don't want to add anything else. Okay, maybe I want to add register, sign up, and I click out of it and it has changed. Let me zoom in. So it has changed all of that. For these ones where it's vertically arranged, there isn't any what do they call it? There isn't any comma. Yeah, you just keep adding it to the bottom and your list just keeps growing, whatever content you want. When you're done, you click out of it and you have all of that there. Once you click on it and you click on your inspector, you can see all the different what do they call it, all the different links. You can actually add links here. Yeah, you can literally link all of that here. I won't go into all of that, is long. So as you can see, each item has its own property and you can add details there. There's one other one I want to show you, which is the combo box. Here it is actually. So drag and drop. So this is the combo box. Yeah. Let's say this is, you have one of these menus where things are hidden underneath. As you can see, it comes with a drop down. So that tells you that there are other links hidden underneath this particular link. Yeah. So in order to do that, it's very easy. You just click beneath, and let's say the first one is register. So I change this combo box to register. Then maybe I want to say register as a student, register as a graduate, register as a lecturer, register as admin. Yeah, and I click out of it. So I can see everything underneath there. And then once I click my inspector, it's not finished. I can still play around with it. So as you can see, the selection is on register. But if I want to select student, let's say I'm writing the functionality for the user who's a student. So I want to highlight the student option. I can click on the property here on the selection, and I can see all the different selections, and I can click on student. So it highlights, if you can notice that it's gone to student, it's now highlighting the student option. Yeah. And then when you do this, you can now display the page that opens if your user is a student. Same thing with graduate, all of that. So there are loads and loads and loads. There's nothing you want to replicate on a website that you cannot replicate. Yeah. And again, just some playing around again with some things. Yeah. You can group things together. So for example, I've shown you all these different controls, and they're all here. So let's say, for example, I want to group these three elements together. Let's say I want to add this one as well. Yeah, I want to move this one out. This is another one that it's an arrow. Yeah, and it comes as an arrow, but if you click on it, you can add no or yes. You can add text to it. Yeah, and the text is on there as well. So again, once you click on something and you pull it down, the functionality opens, and then you can play around with it. If it's not what you want, you click on it and you delete it and it's gone, so feel free to explore. There's a caveat on that, but feel free to explore. Before I go into what I want to tell you again, there's again, is all of this. I've shown you this before. I've shown you this. I've shown you the combo box. This is another one because it's horizontal. It's comma. If it's vertical, there's no comma. So I think I've shown you all of that. Then I was going to show you how to group this. So let's say you are working on a website. If you're working on your website, this button should not be here. Maybe I want to add a search bar to it. Oops, sorry, I moved it. I shouldn't have moved it. Again, if you want to move things around, it's the one that is highlighted that moves. Yeah. So yeah, you have to, not again, thank God. So you have to be very careful about what you're highlighting. So yeah, this is this. Let's add maybe a link here to say, this is the website. Now, so if you have a browser, so let me delete this first. You have a browser here that has text that is a link. If you actually want to show it as a link, you can literally delete this bit here, yeah, and then add an actual web link here, and then you can do your HTTPS. I don't know what this is. Amazinginterns.com. There we go. Oops, wrong. That's not right. That's not how you do it. Okay. And that shows you it's a link. Let me zoom in. That shows you it's actually a link. Misspelled. Alrighty. All right. So I was talking about grouping. Before I keep getting, you can stay here and discover so many different things, honestly. So I'll finish with this, and then I'll go to best practices for your project. Yeah. So I've put all these things together. I like the work I've done. I finished working on this thing. It's really nice. I don't want to stress myself out again. And I just want to group it. I can right click. Yeah. And sorry, before I right click, let me move this out of my way and then scroll up. Okay. Out. So I want to group all of these things. Yeah, I can select everything here by going out of the product and then selecting. You see how it's highlighting everything? Yes, I want to group all of this. Once I've highlighted all of that, I right click and then you can group. There we go, Control G. So you group it and then it becomes purple. Now I can move everything together as a whole. It's not going to be shaky anymore. I can move everything together. You can group things within things, and there's so much functionality. Honestly, I'm looking at the time, so I don't want to spend too much time here. We're going to build all of this together, but again, I'm just looking at time, and I don't know that we can. So this is just stuff you can literally create by yourself. Yeah. If we have time, we can quickly do it because it's just really easy. Let me see if I can do it. Okay, so let me start with my best practice for now. Best practice for you now. This is no longer theoretical. Okay, so everybody in Blue Skies, let me change projects again. Sorry, my apologies. I want to go to where you guys are, so I can use that instead. So I'm going back to Fusion. Okay, so it's, as you can see, this is all blank. I'll delete all of this as I'm going because you don't need all of this. But every time you create a new wireframe, right click on it immediately and rename it. Okay, so it can be header or footer or homepage or whatever it is. Man, let's just say homepage. Yeah. Okay. Homepage. You might be creating multiple homepages. So if you want to be a bit more descriptive, you can always rename it homepage static or whatever it is. Yeah. Or homepage fully developed, whatever it is. But once you add a wireframe, please rename it. I didn't rename all of this because they're all tests. I'm going to delete all of this. Okay. Now, remember what happened while I was on something. Someone was doing something else. Someone dropped something here, a note here. Nusa said hi. Okay. So this is a collaborative note. As you can see, someone dropped a note here and it's highlighted it. So if I mark it as red, it goes away. So that's a comment. Okay. This is supposed to encourage collaboration. But imagine this: you come and you develop or you create a very detailed wireframe, very, very detailed, and you go out and you come back again and you find that someone has completely changed your wireframe. It will be very, very frustrating, to say the least. Even the most mild-mannered person will not like it. Yeah. So if you create a wireframe, name it, and you finish doing whatever it is you're doing, please don't go to someone else's wireframe and change it. If you see a wireframe that someone has created, remember, we're all supposed to be consistent. So we've all agreed on what the header should look like, and the header looks a particular way. It's been approved by the PO, all of that. And you want to build on it because you want to be consistent, even if you're not the one that designed the wireframe. Maybe I come online and I see Oduyemi's wireframe or Ezekiel's wireframe. Ezekiel has created a good header, it's been approved, and I want to maybe create the footer on that same page. I come here and I see his wireframe and I duplicate it. So I leave the original one that was created alone and I duplicate it, and then I change the name because they already tell you it's a copy. So you don't want to leave it as a copy. You create the wireframe you want. So maybe that one was static. This is the functional one. So I rename it as functional. Okay. So basic practice, please create a wireframe and rename it. If there's a wireframe you want to build on, do not amend someone else's work. Duplicate what you want to duplicate, rename it, and then work on it. That way, even if we all want to work on header, maybe we're all working on a header. This can be header 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐂𝐓, because the fact that someone has created a header, I may want to practice creating a header. The header might be the person's story, yeah, and they've created a header that has been approved. But me, I want to try my hand at creating a header. I will just start a fresh page, call it header, and name it after myself. I can even name it 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐍𝐄𝐂𝐓 practice. Once you have a personal name on it, then it's no longer for the project. This is just me creating something for myself. So you're all encouraged to play around with this. Nobody is saying don't play around with it. Play around with it, but use these best practice to work. And then if something is, you're just playing around with it, for example, like I said, I'm done with all of this. I just showed you how to create it. I'll just delete it. one item trash, I'll just delete what I need to delete once I'm done. I don't want the static page anymore. I'll delete it. Yeah. So that way your wireframes are not cluttered. You only have project related wireframes. Everything is properly named, properly developed, and then properly shared. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to show you on here before I open this up for questions is how you attach a wireframe to your story. Because this, for example, is one of the stories we worked on. Let me see if this has a wireframe. Okay. So you remember your user story is linked to your wireframe, right? So you have a description. What is this and why is this? Okay, cool. All right, so you have a wireframe a description, you have your given when then, you have your additional information, then you have your wireframe. Okay, so this was obviously developed in Balsamiq, but it has been attached to this project. Okay, so in order to do this, let me go back to Balsamiq again. There's nothing here I want to add. So again, sorry for flicking through different projects, but let me go back to the project that has a wireframe that I may want to use. Okay. Let's say I'm writing a login story. Let me go back to my login story. So it's this particular wireframe that I want to attach. Okay. So I've highlighted it. I don't need the inspector. I'm fine with all of this. So I want to attach it. Yeah. I can either right click. Is this yet? Sorry, not right click. I can go to edit. Here's the edit button I'm looking for. My apologies. So I can click on edit. And then I have not just cut or copy bitmap to clipboard. If you just copy, it won't do what it is you want it to do. You need to click on this particular functionality. So it's either Control-Shift-C, but it's copy bitmap to clipboard. I know that there's another way someone found, but this is the quickest way I know to do it. So once you click on copy, it's copied, saved as an image. You go back to your user story. Let me remove this, or let me leave it. You can have multiple wireframes on a particular story. So you either right click and paste, or you Control V, and there's your wireframe. Yeah, on your user story. Okay. I do not want to save this. Nope. Let me undo till I can undo no more. Oh, I can even X out of it, actually. That's true. Yes, I'm discarding the changes. I'm happy with that. So if we just have 5 minutes left, I would have loved to do a particular practice run with you guys, but time is not on our side. I mean, if you guys want to stay longer and you don't mind, I'm happy to do it, but we can use the last 5 minutes to ask questions. Yeah. So open up for questions, please. Anyone have questions for me? Let me stop sharing with their projects. I have questions somewhere. Say again?
Hello, Uzo, it's Augusta.
Hi, Augusta.
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Is it compulsory for all user stories to have wireframes? And then secondly, that's the first one. Okay. I understand this image rather we're using for the web page, but like for footer and privacy policy, I don't know what kind of pictures or symbols we'll need to use. That's my questions, or those are the questions.
Okay, so we can practice. If you guys want to stay longer, I'm happy to stay. We can practice, but let me ask the question. Let me answer the first question. No project is the same as any other project, even within the same organization. So what you're learning here is one project. If you're contracting, you can go on multiple projects in 1 year, even within the same organization. I've only ever worked for one organization. I've been on no more than 20 projects within my organization. Sometimes 4 at the same time, 2 at the same time, 3 at the same time. We worked as a pool of BAs, so they would literally send us to whatever project needs a BA. Once they're done with a BA, we go back again. Oh, we have capacity. They'll send us out again, send us out. Oh, you're working on a project, but it may not be taking all of your time. Do you have space for another project? I'll always say yes, because I wanted experience, and you get experience by working on multiple projects. Yeah. So there is no hard and fast rule. There's nothing we're teaching you here that you can apply in every one of your projects, but it's a foundation. With the knowledge you have here, you can go into any organization, and then once you get there, the same way you guys did a project charter here, you find out what is the project charter for that particular project. What are their ways of working? What do they want to achieve? How do they want to achieve? It may not necessitate you creating a wireframe. Like I said, in my organization, we have UI/UX designers. So if they need wireframes, they bring in people that will use Figma and literally recreate. Like if someone picks up their phone, what they'll see on their phone is what they'll create for you, and the whole user journey. We are just doing low fidelity. They want high fidelity. That's the kind they want. They don't want low fidelity. They want high fidelity. That's their ways of working. You could go to another project. They have absolutely no need for wireframes. They're fine. They just want to maybe have a user journey with screenshots of everything. So they already have screenshots. Maybe it's a business improvement project. It may not be a development project. It's a business improvement project. So they already have something they're using, maybe a mobile app they're using, and they want to improve the user interface, whatever it is. So they use screenshots, whatever it is. I said all that to say this. You don't ever have to do anything on a particular project. You just go into that project, find out what they want. I'm a BA. I have a whole skill set. It's like a plumber. You're going to for a plumbing job. You have tools upon tools upon tools. When you go to the house and they describe what the problem is, then you say, okay, fine. I need a drill, or I need a screwdriver, or I need whatever plumbing tool I need to use. But you come equipped with tools, techniques, competencies. When you now go to the project, you now find out what you guys need from me. What does this project need from me as a BA? Now, in this particular project, every user story should have a wireframe. That's how we're working on this particular project. Tomorrow, you can go to another project and they're not going to ask you for wireframes. They may not ask you for, they'll ask you for gap analysis, or they'll ask you for something else, maybe a requirements traceability matrix, whatever it is they're asking you for. So there's no hard and fast rule for a particular. You can go on a project and you may not have a product owner. You have product owners that here that is talking to you on a regular basis, elicitation, refinement. You may not have a product owner. You may have a project manager. It may be a waterfall they're using waterfall framework on that project. You may not be agile. So there's no hard and fast rule. But once you learn how to create a wireframe, it's a fantastic basis for you as a BA. So wherever you go on your CV, you put, I know how to create wireframes. A lot of BAs don't, because many of them don't need to, but in the event they need you to, you know how to use it. You know how to use balsamic, you know how to use all these different tools. So with the knowledge you're getting here, it sets you up to go into any organization and say, I am equipped to be a BA. When you're now getting there, you now find out what they need from you and how the project will work. Yeah. So generally, not every user story has to have a wireframe, but for this project, every user story has to have a wireframe. That's how we're working. Okay. So that's the first response. I beg your pardon, the first answer. The second one, could you remind me of what it is again? Your second question?
Yeah, the second one is tailored to this particular project. So I'm thinking like, okay, privacy policy, what symbol or image?
Yes. Okay, fine. Awesome. So basically, that's why you need your product owner to approve the image, because based on the description they've given you, You see now why when you go for elicitation, you're going to be asking questions because you want to know what to draw. It's not just someone just talking in the air. When they tell you that the website has to have the logo on the right-hand side or on the left-hand side, or maybe the logo will be there, you already know you have to create a wireframe. So you're already going, okay, so where will I place the logo? Excuse me, PO, where's the placement of the logo? And they tell you, okay, it has to be on the left. So when you're creating a wireframe, the logo has to be on the left side. Does it have your normal website? There's some things you don't even have to ask, because if you're creating a website, it usually comes with a link, a web link. So your website has to have a web link. That's part of it. Your website will probably have like a search button, because most websites have all of that. Then when you're creating the header, remember when you were describing the header, you said the header has to have how many buttons? You have, you listed all the buttons. You talked about how they are going to be arranged. You create a header and put all those buttons there using your wireframe. Okay. So again, being very conscious of the time, I may not work through it with you, but I can show you what it looks like. Let me see if I can find something that looks like it and just show you. It doesn't have to be this. This is another project. It's just that the story. So these stories are the same. So let me see the logo. Okay, so this is the story for the logo. So this is the header they created. They told them that the search bar would be in the middle. This is obviously like a logo. This is the web link. This is the name of the website. All of that. This is what they listed on the header. So the header has these buttons on here. They've put it on. This is the header. You know how websites are, right? Any website. Look at this website here, right? So this Azure DevOps website, this is the header of the website. See Azure DevOps, this is the logo here. Then you have these different buttons. If I click on this button, it will take me to a particular page. I click on this one, it'll take me this is the search bar. These are all the different icons. If I was to create a wireframe with all of this, it will have all these different things. I'll have the header section. It doesn't have a footer section, but it has a side column. So I'll create a side column with the name of the website and then a plus, and I'll create, like, if the user comes on, the user identity will be on there, and then there's a drop down here, and then there are different icons. So you probably have, this is the header, then this is the next. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so they've described what the header is. Pick any website. You have a picture of what the header is and what the footer is. You create a footer. Let me see if I can. What website should we go to now? Pick any website. There's no. I'm not sure. Just pick any website, and you see the footer. On the footer, it has social media links, contact us, privacy policy, terms and conditions. That's the footer. So on your wireframe, you just draw that. Let me see if this even has a footer. So this is the wireframe. You've seen the header. This is the body of the web. I told you there's no need for, we already know this is text. There's no need for gibberish. Okay, there's no footer here because this is the logo story. So obviously this is all these are additional things, but this is the story for the logo. So this is the highlight of it. It doesn't have to have a footer. It doesn't have to have a header. It just shows you where the logo is on the header. So because of that, it needs to have that. If this wireframe had been cut off here, it would have been perfect. If all it had was the header strip, it would have been good. Because all these extra information is not needed, because the story, I'm sure there'll be a story for maybe the gallery of pictures, and here you can bring this in, but this is the story for the logo. So, and because the logo sits in the header of the website, if I cut this wireframe off by the header, it would be perfect. I won't need anything else. Let me see if I can find a story for the footer. Okay, this is about us. Okay, footer development. Cool. So let's say contact us. Okay. And we click on contact us. Okay, so this is the contact us button and it's on the footer. Yeah, where is this? No, this isn't a good one. Okay, it has contact us. Why is it in the footer bit? Okay, sorry, let me go to something else, logo, and see if the wireframe is here. Okay, so apparently this is the footer. Maybe I'm the one, not whatever. So this is on the footer. It's showing the logo, which is also on the footer, and then text. So the tagline, whatever the tagline is, this is it. So again, this is all the developer needs. If there was additional information on here for maybe other things, then you can add all those other things. But because this story has to do with logo and tagline, this is more than enough. If I'm creating a story, let's say the footer also has social media links, and I'm creating a story for social media, a wireframe for social media links, I will add social media links to this space. I will not touch the logo or the tagline because that is fixed. I've shown you where it's supposed to be. If the person creating the social media links moves any of this, then you're touching with the consistency of the website and there's a problem. So normally it's the same BA. So if it's my work, I'm not going to move any of this because this has already been approved by the BA, by the PO. But because there are multiple BAs here, I'm highlighting the fact that now this is the footer as approved for the logo and tagline. There may be other elements in the footer as they usually are. Maybe privacy policy, terms and conditions, social media link, contact us, all of that. I cannot touch any of this again. I will use this space to develop what else I'm developing because this has already been approved. So if I see a wireframe like this, I will duplicate this and then add on to it. Remember, we said your wireframe has to be hierarchical. So it has to be on top of each other, on top of each. So they've developed a logo and a tagline. Shikena, no one's touching that again. If you move this tagline to the right, you've messed with the consistency. Your PO will most likely have a problem with you. Your developer will have a problem with you. Your QAs will have a problem with you. So as a BA, you build on existing wireframes, just like they develop functionality on functionality on function. It's a build. So you start from the foundation and you build upwards. You don't move the foundation again after you finish creating it. Now it's there. It's solid. It's not moving. Anything else is built on top of it. So with your knowledge of what a normal website header looks like and a normal website footer looks like, and the description you've been given of the body, you create it and go back to your PO and say, is this what you meant when you said the text should be here and the image should be here and blah, blah, blah? If it's not, they will tell you, no, move it upwards, move it downwards, change the side. That's all you need to do. So that's why you said don't fall in love with your first draft, because you could have, when the PO is talking to you and giving you the positioning, you could be thinking of something different. But once there's a visual representation of the wireframe, there's no long story anymore. Yeah, and this is a very simple one, and that's all we're asking you to do. So just build on the simplicity. There are BAs here that by the time they give you wireframe, you're like, oh my God, like it's just an actual representation of the website. But we don't expect that from you now. Just start building your logo story, create a header with a logo, create your buttons, and go to your PO. Is this what you meant? Yes. Then you build on it. You keep building, you build on it. When they go for login, you create your login, sign up pages, all of that. We use websites all the time. So it's not rocket science, honestly. Yeah, it's when they tell you, and that's why you not ask, how many fields? What will it say? How will it look? You because you know you're going to draw something, you start asking questions because you need to picture it in your mind before you draw. You've never written wireframes before, so it's really hard for you guys. But once you start doing it, then your elicitation becomes different. You start asking specific questions. So where do you want this thing to be? How do you want it to look? And then with the information you get, you create your wireframe, you take it for approval, it's approved, and you're sorted. So I hope that helped you.
Yeah, you did quite well. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, awesome. Any other questions? So again, I know I didn't go into actually developing, like I said, I have an example that we could have done. We usually do. I'm very conscious of time. I really love your set because I don't know if we've done this like this before, where you literally have advanced who are here with you as well. Normally, advanced would have they would, most of them would go somewhere else. Maybe, you have to, so some of them will focus on the second part of their, studies and focus on that. But you have BAs that are here with you, you have mentors, you have buddies. If you're not sure, in your next session, if you're the lead BA or whoever you are, you guys are having a session, let's practice our wireframe. Let's agree on the wireframe. Invite your mentors, invite your buddies, tell them, guys, could you come and help us? We want to do wireframes. Come and talk us through. You saw during your sprint planning how the SM mentors was literally saying, go here, go here, go here. We've done it before. So you're not on your own. No one expects you to know these things. We're teaching you for the first time. So you're going to, struggle. You're going to, try and get a hang of it. So you have a structure around you to support you. It won't be your PO. Please don't go and ask a PO how to do any wireframe. They're not going to answer you. Yeah. That's a work environment. Any question you don't feel comfortable asking a work colleague about, please don't ask your PO. If it's work related, is information about the project, how, where, what, feel free. Every other question, you have a whole structure. You have me as your trainer. We have our workshops. We can come and gist and talk. Any questions you have your mentors. You have so many mentors. I don't know of any other role that has as many mentors and buddies as BAs. You have multiple of them. You can literally tell them every day of the week, like you have for you your Monday, you your Tuesday, you your Wednesday, you your Thursday, and you use all of them. There are a whole wealth of resources. So use the tools that are available to you. Ask the questions. Tell them, I'm struggling to write a user story or create a process map or create a wireframe. Could I just have a session with you, 30 minutes, an hour, and you just walk me through what to do? You share your screen and they're telling you, click here, click here, click here. By the time you do it, you're developing muscle memory. Yeah, you're helping, you're just learning. Yeah. And then the more you do it, you're like, okay, I want to create this thing. And you click on all of them and they'll tell you how to do it. So we're not leaving you on your own. This is just a very rudimentary class. Like I said, it's a walkthrough. We didn't go into detail, but you have resources among you that can help you. But you now need to deliver on the wireframe. So you have user stories. The only reason they've been approved is because we know you haven't had the class. You didn't have the tools. We've given you the tools. You've had the class. From your next elicitation and approval, your PO will not accept any story that doesn't have a wireframe. So again, bear that in mind and then, do what you need to do. Okay. I hope we're not burdening you guys with too many things, but it's 3 months and there's so much we want to impart. So I know it can feel like a lot, but you have the recordings and you have the tools and you have your project practice. So hopefully you'll be able to do that. This is what I did. To be honest with you, I didn't have as much as this when I did it, and I still got a job as a BA. Yeah. So it may not seem like a lot. It's more than enough foundation. But go and learn what else you need to learn. Develop that skill of learning by yourself as well, and then practicing with the tools. But please don't change any of the project properties, any of the project collaterals or artifacts. Don't change any of them. Okay, duplicate and create your own and build on it, so that way you don't mess up anything anyone else is doing. We can all exist together. So I'll ask again if anyone has any questions. If I also say one more thing, and then we'll close. Any questions? Okay, cool. I asked for the project mandate the last time, Augusta. I don't know if you guys have looked at that project mandate very well. I don't know if you guys have looked at your project mandate. If you look at your project mandate, at the end of your project mandate, you have documents, additional documents. Those documents are for BAs, or they're not for anybody else to create. They are BA documents. So if you go and look through, you see all the documents that you're supposed to create. I don't know if I have that mandate anywhere close by. I keep forgetting to tell you guys that. That's why I wanted to mention it as well. I don't know if I have it on here. Maybe it's on my Teams. Just 1 minute. Let me just pull it up. Because I don't know that you guys are aware of that, and I want to make you aware of that. It's not compulsory, but we're just talking about different projects and the different artifacts that you need to create as BAs, and that came to my mind because it's very important. Let me see if I can pull it up. Just 1 minute. After that, I'll be done for the day. Thank you, guys. I know we've gone over by 16 minutes. I'll try and be done before 20 minutes. Just want to see if I can find that document. Okay, I found it. All right, cool. Just 1 minute. Let me share my screen. Okay, just 1 minute. Okay, so this is the project mandate you have. Now, if you scroll to the bottom, there are additional project documentation, right? If you notice, your definition of ready and definition of done is here. Your glossary is here. As part of your training, you most likely you'll have a class on use cases, user journey. I'm sure you do stakeholder maps, but there's some you may not be able to you won't be taught on. We don't have the time, to be honest with you. Go try your hand at all these things. Try your hand at all these things. These are artifacts that BAs do. Remember, I told you about your toolkits, your BA toolkits. These are things someone can call you and tell you, we need a gap analysis document. As a BA, you can't say you don't know how to do a gap analysis document. Oh, this project needs a RACI. The project you're working on, you can create a RACI matrix for it. Yeah? No one's going to, I don't know that we're going to teach specifically on RACI, but we may, I think we may, or we may not. However, regardless, the ones we have mentioned, make sure you try your hand at these documents. Yeah? Even if we never talk about them specifically. But let these be part of the documents you've tried. Why? It's not just so you can try it, it's so you can understand what it is, add it to your CV as part of your competencies. And then when you're talking through it, you can talk about it intelligently. You understand when to use a RACI, when to use a gap analysis, when to use a process map. So these things, I know we're going to have a process mapping session. Like I told you about the installation of Visio. Visio is a process mapping tool. So you're going to get Visio, and then you're going to try your hand at that. Once you hear it and you get taught it, apply it to the project you're working on and start doing all these things. So I just wanted to let you know that even though it's not specifically stated here that these are BA documents, they're all BA documents. There's no other role that is doing any of these things. So please try your hand at all these artifacts. They're called artifacts. Try your hand at all these artifacts. They usually accompany projects that we work on. And you can already start applying them to the project you're working on now. Try your hand at them and add them to your wiki folder in your Azure DevOps. We used to have SharePoint. I know at some point you get access to Teams. This is a SharePoint document. So if you get access to it, you also have like a SharePoint folder as well that you can add all these things to. So it will be part of what you know, your knowledge as a BA. Okay, so I just wanted to highlight this because a lot of times I don't know how many of you have even looked at this mandate, but please look at it. Your SM should not be the one telling you what the project mandate is. This is your bread and butter. Yeah, but I just wanted to highlight this for you guys as well. All right, it's 10:20. I think I have hit my limit. Thank you so much for your time and for letting me stretch beyond what we're supposed to do. We have another session, a workshop on Friday. It's not mandatory. it's just for you guys. If you want to talk, if you have any questions, you want to learn anything else, it's your session. It's there for you. Will be available if you want to use it. If you don't want to use it, that's fine. So yeah, thank you guys very much. Any questions before we end? No? All right. I hope you guys got value from this session. And don't forget your take-home task. Okay? Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Uzo.
Thank you, Uzo. Really appreciate
Thank you, Uzo.
You're welcome.
Thank you.